What's up, y'all? It's T.M.T. We back again with the T.M.T. podcast, episode 4, titled
The Importance of Self-Control.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about self-control, good, bad, consequences, all of that.
Right. So the two kinds of emotional or self-control we're talking about, one's emotional and one's impulse. Impulse control is the ability to stop and think before you're acting. And the emotional control, I cannot talk, bro. Oh my goodness. The ability to manage your feelings. So self-control, basically, if y'all don't know what it is, the ability to regulate and alter your responses to avoid undesirable behaviors, increase desirable ones, and achieve your long-term goals. So the first question I have for you, Tim, has there ever been a point in your life so far in which you acted impulsively without thinking at all?
Absolutely. Now that I've had a second to think about it, yes, I have. It may not even be like anything big, right?
Yeah.
I'll say like sometimes when I'm with like my dad, and I just be like, I can just jump on his back and like choke him out. And I don't actually like choke him out, but like just playing around, just get that thought in your head and just act on it. And then that could also go with like intrusive thoughts. As far as like you driving down the street, you see a person, 10 points, I should go hit him.
10
but
points.
you don't, 10 points.
Yep.
But you don't actually do it. But, you just have those random thoughts that pop up in your head that some can't be helped but to do it. And I feel like as long as they're not harmless,
right?
Then, I mean.
You said as long as they are harmless?
No, they're not harmless. They're not harmless.
Ain't that what you just said, though?
No.
Okay. Never mind.
It don't matter.
Right.
All right, what about you?
Yeah. Had some funny intrusive thoughts. I've had some intrusive thoughts that have been like serious, like choosing a job, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Situations with people like anger. Okay, just like I'm serious when I ask this question, but it's kind of silly. Like,
what
you
is
ever
it?
had an intrusive thought of like you see things happen with other people, right? And you be like, dang, I wonder what would happen if like that was my situation. Like, what happened if this house just started burning down in fire? Like, or you ever had that type of thought?
Sometimes, just to know, like, just because, like, I would want to know, like, what I would do in that situation. But other than that, nah, like, that's not something that just pops up in my head. But, like, I'm saying from, like, a point of, like, when it comes to, like, when you do something impulsively,
right?
When you do something impulsively, right, you don't really think about the consequences of it or, like, how it can actually affect you long term. Like, for me, like, when I'm, like, looking for a job, like, when I don't have a job, like, I'm just applying. Like, I'm doing it impulsively just based off of, okay, they pay decent. Oh, okay, this looks cool. Oh, yeah. Like, I'm not really, like, looking at everything. Right. So that's not always a rational thing to do. So, like, for me personally, like, I'm just, like, doing it impulsively without really thinking. So, like, I know a lot of people do that. Not just with jobs, but just in general. Like, they don't always think about the consequences of their actions, so they act impulsively consistently. Mm-hmm. So one thing we're going to talk about, like, as we're, like, talking is, like, the consequences of that and how to avoid it, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But another question, how well do y'all manage y'all emotions? Second question, because this is going to be talking more about emotional control and, like, how well you're rationally able to control your emotion. So I'll start with you, actually.
I'm a pretty level-headed person. I don't let the highs get too high or the lows get too low. I feel like you should always think before you act. That's just the way I think. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't, there's always that situation to where if you do outburst, there's potentially somebody that could be hurt in that situation. You can hurt yourself, and you don't even mean to. But just by you not controlling your emotions, just for that second, just to take a breather and think, and just by not doing that, it could cause a lot more harm than what you're actually want to get across.
I agree. How about you? How well do you manage your emotions?
I would say pretty well, but I think that along with managing emotions, like for anybody, you you have to know. It doesn't just mean that you don't recognize or be honest with yourself about how you feel, because some people look at it that way. Like if I act like I don't care, then I'm managing them well. Like you can acknowledge how you feel. I put it that way. Acknowledge your emotions and things like that, and it's okay to feel it in the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like go through every step of how you feel. However, like Tim said, don't get too low on yourself. Don't get too high on yourself. Just don't force feed yourself any emotions that you're in. You know what I'm saying? And think because I'm emotional and I feel this way, I have a right to act out this way as well. Because that's not true.
Right. And I feel like feeling and controlling are very different. Because like you said, feeling the emotion is fine. Whether or not you can control it to affect others is different.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of times when, like, let's just say like young adults, just for the sake of conversation. I know a lot of people could experience this, but like, let's just say young men, right? Young men that can't control their emotions are very dangerous because, without a rational thought process of like whether it be like rejection or feeling unwanted or your ego's being hurt, if you can't control your emotion in the moment, you could seriously hurt yourself or hurt somebody else. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of times when people do things like we'll just stick with young men right now. Like when young men do things, like no one really understands why, but it starts with a lack of self-control. But like you have to look at the root of that, because a lot of times when you can't control yourself, it's because you're not really aware of your emotion. Like if you don't have that level of self-awareness to control what it is you're doing, then you're going to just use that to blow up at everybody else. And I feel like really weak individuals can't control their emotions because it takes a lot of strength to be level-headed and control how you feel about something, even if it doesn't like align well with what it is you're trying to do. Like for example, like in like recent news reports, I've been seeing a lot of like men killing women because they're getting rejected, and that's a very scary, dangerous thing. You know what I mean? Because like not everyone's going to like everybody. So like, that's why you have these women lying to dudes, giving them their numbers when they don't really like them for fear of their life, all because these dudes can't control their emotions, and that's a certain level of self-control that needs to be analyzed more, because a lot of dudes they don't have that certain level of self-control at all. And it's a very scary thing. But what were you going to say?
What helps with self-control is like knowing why you feel the way you feel.
Right.
A lot of people, when it comes to managing your emotions, like we was talking about, they really don't even know why they feel the way they feel. They'll say, oh, I feel this way, and think, oh, this is how I feel, so I'm managing my emotions because I know how I feel. Okay, but why do you really feel that way? Like, what caused it? Like what you were saying about the whole rejection thing. Sometimes people, they'll look at the surface of it, like, oh, I got rejected, so I'm going to do this. That's such a shallow way to, like, to have a reason to do something like that. Like, it's probably because you have a validation issue or something like that, and you need to work on that because, I mean, that leads into other things, but it's usually deeper than what people really think it is,
Right. I agree. So leaning more on so obviously we touched a lot on emotional control, but going back to impulse control, do you guys feel like today people do impulsive things out of, like we were talking about 2 weeks ago about peer pressure and like other outside sources, like making people do things out of impulse? Because I feel like a lot of times those impulsive decisions come from a heightened sense of like validation. Like if you don't, let's just say like, I know like this is something that's kind of weird, but like, I know like this is something that I saw in like elementary school. Like I know like some little boys would like dare each other to do really stupid things. Yeah. And if you didn't, you get roasted or like made fun of. Right. So like impulsively, like if you're the one in question, like you're not like, if you want to fit in, you're not going to really think, oh, maybe I shouldn't do, like you're going to do it because you want to be accepted by the group. So that goes back to that peer pressure, like leading to this lack of self-control impulsively because you're just trying to fit in. So like, do you guys think that's something that's like the main prominent, because a lot of people don't know how to think for themselves, like we also talk about, but like, do you guys think that's like a big thing as it pertains to like peer pressure as well?
Yeah, I would say so. Like, because usually, and I'm just using the example real quick,
Right.
but like when you said the thing about not chickening out, what the truth or dare, like people would say in a group, like, "Oh, you chicken," and that's in other terms, saying other things that people would use today, like, "Oh, you or this or you or that." Yeah, it's the peer pressure because somebody will impulsively say like, "Man, you know what? Forget it. Yeah, I ain't no chicken. I'm gonna just go ahead and do it." It'll be something completely stupid, but just so they don't get looked at a certain way in that moment, it's like, let me go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And it could be things that'll throw your whole life away, like those impulse decisions or things, emotional decisions when you can't control yourself. It'll change the whole course of your life. Something real small.
Right. And I'm glad you said that because, like, after I did some research about this topic, it says there was this one study that showed that adults who had greater self-control as children and teenagers were less likely to be dependent on substances, get STIs, and less likely to be incarcerated. So, like, those impulsive decisions could lead to, like, you know, everything I just mentioned, STIs, incarceration, and you're on drugs. So, like, by rushing to do something, you're ultimately defeating yourself because you didn't take the time to think about whether it could impact you or not. So that's emotional self-control in a nutshell. It's really just not being able to discern whether or not it can have a serious impact on you or not, depending on when you do it. Same with impulse, because like with emotional control, it's more of like you're just not aware of your emotions enough to control them good, to be honest. But those are the two main things. But another aspect of self-control I want to talk about is your willpower, which goes along with like self-control and like how adept you are in controlling what you're able to control. So like some examples of that, like exercising, productivity during the day, you know, diet, you know, just getting rid of bad habits in general, spending money, like social media, like stuff like that. So would you guys say there's an aspect of your lives where self-control is a struggle, like in any of the things I just mentioned as an example?
I would say it definitely used to be in areas of like ambition. Like a lot of people don't like being told no and don't like to tell themselves no. So when it would come to things that's like, I'm like, oh man, this is a great idea or this is a great opportunity. It's like we want to see the possibility of what the outcome could be of the opportunity, even though you're like, man, I got a lot going on right now. Probably don't want to stretch myself too thin, get involved in too much. You do it anyway just because you couldn't. Really, I would say this. You couldn't tell yourself to wait because no doesn't always mean no. It just sometimes means wait. And one of my teachers, he always say this in barber school, a delay isn't always a denial. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes it's there for you, it's just not the right time. And the willpower thing you said, one thing that always keep me in check when it comes to controlling myself, and I always have to remind myself, is a verse from the Bible, Proverbs 25:28. He that have no rule over his own spirit is like a city broken down without walls. And I don't know, that always just, it makes me think, like every time I think about that, I'm like, if I can't control myself, I look at myself as weak for not being able to do so. I gotta bring myself back into alignment, back into check. It just, I don't know, straighten everything up.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I'll say when I was younger, because I grew out of it, I did have a problem with like spending money and at least watching my money, because I always just had a thought like, oh, I'll have more. But as I get older, have more expensive, have more things that I have to take care of, I had to discipline myself to hold back on what I need and what I don't need. See, because, you know, there's a want and then there's your needs. Your needs, you know, you need to eat. You need those lights on. You need hot water. You need all that. Your basic necessities to live. Your wants, everything else. Like, I could want a car. Do I need a car? No. I can get around on a bus.
That's true.
I mean,
that is true.
It's just, at that point, it's just like holding yourself accountable. And that was something that I was lacking at my younger ages. I couldn't hold myself accountable to say, you don't need that right now. There's something bigger down the road that may happen that you need that money. But it's just like, I got it. Swipe that card. Don't swipe the card. You got it. You can hold off.
Because no, wait. No, go ahead.
No. I'm good.
Okay, no, I was just gonna say there's a concept called delaying gratification, and basically all that is, it's delaying what you want, like it's like delaying the gratification of the urges you're having now to reach a certain goal. So my next question is, have you guys ever lacked in an area where you couldn't reach a goal? Like, has there ever been a goal you wanted to reach, but your lack of willpower like deterred you from reaching it? Because I know for me, like it was a money instance. Like I wanted to save enough for certain things, and I was not patient to like save it the way I wanted to. So I didn't reach it in a timely manner I wanted. So like I know for a lot of people it's mainly about money. And it's funny because when you sent me that TikTok with the Beyonce thing. So explain that really quick.
Okay. So there was a TikTok. There was this couple, they were engaged, and they had been saving for 10 months to buy a house. They had already, like I said, they were engaged. And the girl, she wanted to go to the Beyonce concert that's coming up. The ticket was $600 for nosebleeds. And she texted her boyfriend like, hey, I need some money to go to this Beyonce concert coming up. And he's like, no, be strong, have some willpower, like some discipline. We've been saving up for 10 months. It's almost been a year for this house. She's like, it'll make me really happy if you give me the money to go and everything. He's like, okay, last time you said it would make you happy if I did an engagement. He's like, so I proposed to you. She's like, you said that made you happy. It was another thing that she said, or an example that he gave of something that would have made her happy. He did that too. Then she's like, well, last time I checked, I gave you some money towards that savings for the house and everything too. And he's like, are you serious? And she's like, is that a no? He's like, no. So she still says, all right, I'm coming by to get the money. And he tells her, okay, if you do this, the engagement's off. And all right, let me know when I can come get the money. And so he's like, really? And so turns out in the story, she ended up coming to get the money, going to the Beyonce concert, all for the sake of canceling her engagement, spending time, the rest of her life actually, with somebody I take it maybe she loved. She canceled all those plans for the sake of a Beyonce concert because she didn't have enough willpower or discipline and self-accountability to do what she needed to do, to fight those impulses and just say, no, all right, we've been saving for the house. That's a more important goal, that we have a future. We already got engaged. This is something we need, like you were saying.
Right.
Versus a want or a desire, which was to go to a concert for a few hours. That's going to end. I'm not going to have the money I had before, but I'm throwing all this other stuff in my life away.
Right.
Yeah.
She basically just submitted to the temptation of seeing Beyonce at the risk of her relationship.
Exactly.
And see, my thing is, that just makes me wonder sometimes, like, how much do y'all really love who you say you love? Like, you can really, and like, that goes to show, like, I'm not trying to get off topic, but like, that kind of ventures off to, what do you really value? Like, do you value, like, sure, Beyonce's talented, but like, I wouldn't choose my wife over her. Like, if me and my wife have a goal to establish.
I'm just playing.
I was like, this dude. No, I mean, in the regard of, like, I wouldn't, like, if we got a goal to meet in terms of like building our family, building our marriage, like, like act being one flesh, whatever, like, I'm not going to put money to something else that's not as significant just for the sake of, well, I mean, it's Beyonce, like, because that ruins the whole dynamic of what the self-control is supposed to be about, which
Like,
is
basically you're
achieving a long-term goal.
But that's not what happens when people idolize things.
That's true. That's true.
Idolizing things and people take self-control right out the window. Like, and that's why you got to put in check, like, how you looking at things, priorities, all those things.
And I'm glad you brought that up because that's going to lead me to my next question. How do you guys resist temptation? In a sense of, obviously, we all struggle with things, but to avoid those things, you have to overcome temptation. And temptation is a is a direct opposite to self-control for obvious reasons. But like, how do y'all avoid temptation? Terrence, I'll start with you this time.
Because there's a lot of different types of temptation, obviously. You know that, 'cause that's like many avenues. But like, obviously, scripture for me and thoughts about consequences. I know this might sound, I don't know, cliche or just like simple, but I don't want to do anything stupid. Like, that's going to just literally alter the whole course of my life. Like, if I'm somewhere good or I know I can be somewhere greater down the line, if I'm closer to this, why would I just derail that whole system? And it's going to take me like times 10 to get where I'm at already right now. It's not worth it.
I agree.
Most things aren't worth it, I feel like.
That's facts. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like the same way. Well, it depends on the situation, like Terrence said.
Yeah.
Because like usually when I'm on my way home from work, the first person I call is Miles. And that's because one, I'm trying to divert my thought of doing something that I don't really need to do in that moment that could possibly wait and can save me some money.
That's facts.
So I'll call Miles. Miles would be like, get home, hop on the game. That helps me like 90% of the time. Between that or going to the gym, focusing on my goals that I want to accomplish. Like Terrence said, looking down like 10 years from now, if I don't achieve my goals, it's like, what have I been doing this whole time is what it comes down to. So, just focusing on my goals, keeping good company that I know is always going to look out for me.
Hold you accountable.
To hold me accountable, yeah. So I feel like that's the gist of how I take care of it.
Okay.
I like one of the points Tim made. I think it was before, he said something about time and it was around that area, but like, say like 10 years down the road or something like that, right? I think like time is like your biggest asset in life, right? And it's like you look down 2, 5, 10 years down the road and you're like, I've had time. That's the best thing I had. I ain't got nothing to show for it because of stupid decisions I made, things that derailed me, things that held me back. It's like, I don't know, that just sucks. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's true.
Yeah.
That is
People
true.
got to think about that stuff. And the good company, that's a big one.
Like I know I can call y'all and y'all be like, that's probably not a good idea. And I feel like everybody needs somebody like that in their corner. Sure. I feel like I can be like that most times. But,
That's true. Yeah.
What about you?
Oh, like what? For me, really just knowing because like you said, it's different for different scenarios.
Yeah.
But like, the best way I do it is just avoid whatever it is that could lead me to it. Like, I know like a very basic one, I'm not saying it's mine, but I'm saying like a very basic one that people struggle with is lust, right? So if you struggle with lust, there's a few different ways to avoid it, right? Watch what you consume. That could be like, whether it be something you're seeking out, like pornography or something, or that could be like we talked about the very first time, like when we were talking about like TikTok and social media, like if you're gonna be seeing a bunch of Instagram models on your feed, and you have a problem with lust, do the math and delete Instagram. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if you can't control, now once you get to a level where you can control yourself in that instance, then you can look at it and just move on with your day. But like if you have a problem with it, please delete it.
TV
so
shows.
Like, yeah, TV movies. Shows, like I said, like what you consume, like TV shows and stuff like that. Just really being aware of what you're watching to like not, feed those demons of like, your lust. You know what I mean? So like that's kind of like how I would describe, like, I just avoid things.
Yeah. Music too.
Yeah, music.
Yeah,
for
just
sure.
throw that in there.
Yeah.
Well, see, for me, with music, I feel like TV more. That's why I stopped watching TV, because TV is just a whole bunch of negativity.
Yeah.
Between like the news, the new TV shows. All the TV shows are basically the same thing. You go from, for an example, Grey's Anatomy to like, what is it? It's like New Amsterdam now or something.
Yeah,
something like that.
It's just a bunch. It's nothing but hospital shows, cop shows. That's all I
TV
see.
dramas.
Right. TV dramas. They just going to keep shoving that down your throat. And it's just going to, bring on that. That's what gets people into series. And it's on to the next series. That's basically just like your last series that you just watched, because they're just going to keep leading you on to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, to the next one.
That's facts.
So, but with music, I feel like with music, it doesn't affect me as much. So, like, I can just listen to any music and, like, I don't let it affect my emotions. Like, I know people will use that to fuel their emotions. And I don't think, it's just like, not to bash on people either, but, like, if you know a song is going to do something to you, why give into it?
Right. And I think that goes to like a certain level of discernment on what you listen to. Like me, like I don't really listen to rap as much as I used to, really, just because like it's always the same thing. Like, oh, we killing each other. Oh, we doing this with these girls. Oh, we getting money. Like, it's the same stuff. Like, I try and diversify my music as much as possible so it's not just the same thing. But like, a lot of people are just stuck in their ways when it comes to music. Like, a lot of people are aggressive and they don't know it, and it's because of the music they listen to. Like, some people might deny that, but like, if you can discern whether or not like what you're consuming can affect you, you'll be a lot better in the long run. Because a lot of people don't even realize, oh, maybe by listening to King Von every day, I'm gonna be a little bit more aggressive than I usually am. Because like, if that's all you're consuming, you're gonna start thinking a little bit, acting. No, I'm not saying everybody listens is gonna be a murderer. I'm just saying like, in general, like it can have an effect if you're not aware of what music can do.
And just like,
Yeah, go ahead. It opens up those intrusive thoughts we was talking
That's
about.
what I was about to say. Yeah.
That's facts.
Because then, like, it just takes that one person, just like with a sad song, of like just listening to a sad song can bring somebody like to tears. That's the same way with like rap music, pushing somebody to do something that they wouldn't do in that type of way, as like killing, all that other stuff. And it's just like, well, he was never like that. Well, of course, he was, because he just did.
Right.
That's facts. That is facts. Yeah, I feel like there's lots of ways that people can increase their self-control. Because like, one thing that a lot of people don't know, because some people just don't think they have willpower. Everybody has willpower, and it's something that you can learn and strengthen as you grow older. Because obviously, when you're younger, you're not always thinking about how your decisions impulsively, emotionally, or even personally will impact your future. So like, sometimes you might just do things just because you're young and you can get away with it. But for a lack of better words, like when you have this level of willpower to like do better in your life and like manage everything in your life better, whether that be emotionally or what you're acting on, it can lead to more success, because you're not always leading with just your own thoughts, but you're losing a certain level of discernment and logic, to like make good decisions for yourself. And 71% of people believe that self-control can be learned and strengthened. So like, that gives me a lot of hope for people like that want to reach a certain goal to actually make it, because a lot of people understand that it's something you have to work on. Like, nobody has 100% self-control like right out the gate. It's impossible. And if you happen to be one of those people, you're a unicorn, because it's not a common thing in the slightest. Like, there are certain times where I have a goal for something and I break it by doing something stupid impulsively, maybe. Like, whether that be working out or whatever.
Yeah.
But see, I feel like in a way, it's just like a lack of, what's the word for it? It's just a lack of like, Help me out here.
A lack of what?
I want
Lack
to
of
discipline, but
I mean,
don't
is
know.
it- is that-
not
That's the
discipline,
word
but
you
like
use.
almost like a lack of like scheduling.
Oh, you mean like lack of time management?
Almost.
Okay.
So like, say you have like this set schedule that you follow every day, which is what I have.
right.
I feel like I can get, now that I have my set schedule, that I can go work out now right after work. I go to work, get off work, go to the gym, go home. And just because like my mind is staying busy like throughout all that time, it doesn't give that room to like let those thoughts in. It's like I always have a goal for something.
Right.
So like
Okay.
when I walk in the door or when I wake up, my goal is to get to work. Right? When I get to work, my goal is to get all my stuff done to go home.
Right. Right.
Right? When I'm leaving work, my goal is to get to the gym. And then when I get to the gym, my goal is to get my workout done, get everything I need to do, and then go home. And then go to sleep. My end goal is to go to sleep and wake up the next morning. So I feel like getting on that schedule that works for you, always having a goal. I mean, not every day you're just going to have the same goal, of course, right?
Right.
But like, trying to keep on setting positive goals for yourself.
For sure.
Not just going like, I'm going to just be a couch potato for the rest of my life.
Which we hope nobody does that, please.
Yeah. Because then those intrusive thoughts, that lack of self-control can be addictive in a way. And you lose that drive to better yourself. You lose all self-control because then you're just going to start acting up.
That's
Most
true.
Definitely.
That's true. And there's, like we were talking about, like there's a couple ways that we like try and improve our self-control, because like it's not an easy task, but like it's something you just have to do to just be a better person, I feel like. Because imagine if every time something didn't go your way or you didn't reach something, you just freaked out. Or like every time something happened, you just impulsively did it. Or, or if there every opportunity to do anything, you just did it without thinking. Like there's certain levels of like rationality that go behind self-control, but they're all useful. Like it always leads to success when you're a master of your own emotions, and being self-aware, like Terrence was talking about earlier, is a big part of that. And here's just a couple ways other than what we were talking about, including what we were talking about, of ways that people can self-control, right? So like we said, avoiding temptation. If there's something that you are struggling with, if you know there's a path to lead to it, block that. Do not fall into whatever it is that can lead you back to that temptation that steers you away from your self-control. Planning ahead, like he was saying, if you know what you need to accomplish or something you struggle with, plan around that. Like if you know you're not supposed to be eating sweets because you want to lose weight, right? When you go to the store, don't buy any snacks. That actually leads to temptation as well. But don't buy snacks or buy unhealthy foods that you know are not going to help you reach your goal, right? Like plan around that so then you don't fall into it. You about to say something?
Yeah. Out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
But like,
right.
sometimes I don't want to say everybody because I guess I can't say everybody, but sometimes it takes longer for certain people. But life will usually show most people consequences. I should say that. I'm saying life, but consequences will usually teach most people like, yeah, I'm not going to do this again. It will teach you self-control because you will get in certain situations where you like, man, I just put myself right in some mess and I don't ever want to feel like this again. I know I've been there myself.
Yeah, I've been there.
That's facts.
You make an impulsive decision and you like, I knew I shouldn't have did that.
Right.
I've been controlling myself this whole time just to throw this all away. And then you like, especially when there's nobody to bail you out, man, or you don't want to bring nobody else into your mess. But
Right.
like,
Right.
yeah, that's
Not for sure.
it's not a good feeling at all.
But like focusing on one goal, like if you struggle with self-control, like focusing on one goal at a time, step by step, is also very essential. because there's also a concept called ego depletion. So like people use up all of their respective like willpower on one task, and it makes it so hard to control like the next thing. Like if you're so busy worrying about not spending money, like you see a snack, but you know you're not supposed to be eating bad. Man, who cares, man? I'm trying my best. I'm gonna just eat this cookie. Who cares? Like that's your ego getting exhausted. So like just focus on one thing at a time. That's something else that I feel like goes a little bit unnoticed, because when people try and do too much when it comes to like this self-control journey of like not always just submitting to everything, eventually you're gonna break because you're overwhelming yourself. So like
baby steps,
just baby steps for real. Like it's not an easy path, we already said, but like just be mindful of that. Another one, like we're all believers of God, of Israel in the Bible, Christianity for real. So praying helps. Like I said, we all believe in God, but whatever higher power you believe in, whatever, seek that, because like I know with me, like God always helps me get through obstacles that might be slowing me down in terms of self-control. Like for me, like anyone that knows me, sometimes I have very not emotional outbursts, but I get angry very easily when I'm frustrated, right? Like I can blow back on you like anytime. So like for me, like mastering that, like praying about it, like God, please don't let me say something or do something that will make me break out of your character for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so stuff like that, just pray about it. Like, because that really does help. Like that scripture was saying.
Building momentum. Like in the terms of baby steps, like if you do take your time, like you were saying, like one thing at a time, it'll make you feel good about what you just did. And it's almost like building small habits over time, but they're good habits, you know?
Yeah, right.
It's like, oh man, okay, I did this. Now let's see if I can last doing this. And because I did this, it made me feel better about myself. I'm sure I can accomplish this too if I really want to.
Facts.
Got self-control. So just building momentum, that's a good way to do it.
And with building momentum, even if you like slip up, you shouldn't be like beat on yourself.
Yeah, right, for sure.
That's a good point. That's just going to kill all your momentum. Like, I slipped up this one time, but just a slip up, you pick yourself back up. Keep it pushing.
Yeah, and like we always say, like we're not perfect. We're not saying any of this because we're like, oh yeah, we so in control of our emotions. We never mess up. Y'all need to do like we're saying it because like it's something that we fail with. Like everyone can, but like really just because like just understanding like you have multiple chances to do so many different things in terms of like you have all the time in the world to like lose weight for real. Like if you eat one cookie or like you miss one like workout, like you shouldn't be like I'm gonna be fat forever. Like you know what I mean? Like you can work on that. Right.
And just real quick, just 2 more points about self-control before we end. It's like I'm gonna touch on anger in a second because I don't want to forget. But one thing that I feel like people don't talk about, because I'm gonna just put this out there, even me myself. There's certain things I catch myself that I might not tell nobody else, and I will go back and think about it later, never say nothing to nobody, and it'll be thoughts I've had or things I know I've said that people didn't notice, it didn't catch them off guard, but later on I'm like, I probably shouldn't have said those things. Even if it was funny, you know what I'm saying? It made people laugh. I would do it like a self-check, and I'm like, man, I got to really get some control when it comes to that. Like, I don't want to feel that way about myself ever again. So I'm going to just avoid opening my mouth when it comes to saying certain things. Yeah, like, I feel like we got to get ourselves in check when it comes to our own personal thoughts that people may not know about and control those too, because those are going to lead to other things. And I'm not talking about intrusive thoughts, so to speak, but just like, regular stuff we think about. Somebody might say something to you and you start thinking of something, you're like, I'm not going to say it, but I'm definitely thinking it.
Right. Like, but that's the thing. Like, some people do say those. Yeah. And that goes back to our original point of impulse control, right? Impulse control isn't necessarily doing something. It's really a lot of times saying stuff. Like, a lot of times people just say stuff unprovoked. You know how there's people that have no filter? Like, imagine being around someone like that constantly, no matter what. Like, you see somebody, man, look at him. Like, you got that one dude just saying whatever about whatever. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I used to be that guy. But like sometimes, but what I've learned is sometimes when you say things impulsively without thinking, you don't know how it'll make the other person feel. And that's very irresponsible to do because everyone deserves to be treated fairly. So if you're just saying the first thing that comes to mind without really thinking about how it'll make them feel, everyone's gonna look at you like, man, this guy's a butthole, bro. Like, what's wrong with this dude? Yeah.
The fact that I'm glad you said that, because sometimes we will think about how it will make the other person feel, and then that impulsive thought, we'll be like, I know how this is gonna make them feel, but because of how they made me feel emotionally, I'm gonna say it anyway. I deserve to speak.
Yeah,
you know what?
Facts.
You this or you that,
right?
And then when they flip out, you be like, see, I knew it was gonna make them feel that way, but
see that just goes to show like part of self-control is knowing when to picking and choosing your battles, right? A lot of times, I'm not gonna lie, like a lot of times I know I'm right, but in order to like save myself from arguing, I just like to smile and say, you know what, you're right. That's what my self-control does. Cause like I could be impulsive and be like, well, you know what, and then just like get on them for whatever. But like I have enough logic to know by starting arguments with people that are just gonna drag it out. That's not really a wise thing to do. So having that little self-control to like hold your tongue and not just say everything that comes to mind when you think it will go a long way. It'll save you your peace of mind. So that's a big point.
Yeah. And the anger thing, because like a lot of times we say stuff out of anger, and it's like, man, that's one thing. People, I'm gonna just say people, because like I'm like just nobody I can really point out, but just people as a society, I put it that way, we can get under control. Is impulsively reacting like out of anger. It's not wrong to be angry, because we all gonna get angry. That's just an emotion we feel. But it's what we do when we feel the anger, like which direction you're gonna go in, and it can either most times it can ruin relationships.
Yeah, because that lack of emotional control can affect the person's like viewpoint of you. Like nobody wants to be around somebody who they don't know what they're going to do when they're upset. Yeah. Like for me, when I get upset now, let me be more specific. When I get upset now, I like to acknowledge what happened that made me angry and just talk for real. Like I'm not really the type to like throw stuff and punch holes in walls and whatever like some people do. But like, there used to be a point in time where I used to be very, not violent per se, but like I used to take outbursts on things, not people, but like I would punch something or like something like that. And that's not, and even if you're not hitting somebody, like if somebody saw that, like they'd be like, man, what's wrong with this dude? You crazy? He's about to just knock me out. I could be that pillow, or I could be that, you know what I mean? Like, so having that certain level of like emotional control to like maintain your emotions when you are angry. It's most important when you're angry, because like obviously when you're sad and those are important too, but like those don't always include hurting others or yourself. Sadness could, depending on the circumstance.
Yeah.
But like just being mindful of like what it is you're feeling and try and manage that. Especially anger and sadness, for sure.
Yeah. That's a good thing to keep in check. Loving yourself when you say. That's another form of self-control. How am I going to treat myself when I'm feeling down? Like, has there been any times where y'all have treated yourself a certain way because y'all wasn't in the best mood, or somebody made you feel a certain type of way, or you didn't feel good about yourself just in general?
Yeah. What I do, like, when I feel like down, for like in that sense, like I like to isolate myself and just hop on the game, do something that takes my mind off of it, just cool me down for real. Like,
right.
And this is another thing, like video games are therapy for people that don't know. Like, bro, there's nothing more relaxing after a hard day's work, hopping on the game and just goofing off. That is the most therapy anybody can feel, if I'm being honest. Working out, like there's plenty of productive ways to like manage that.
Sure.
So like for me, yeah, that's what I do.
With you saying that, and I don't want to make an extreme comparison, because some people can be game heads to an unhealthy level. But I will say, I don't even play video games, but I'm speaking for those people who do. What you said about it being like an outlet, therapy. Okay, I've never did none of these things, like crack or nothing like that, okay? But I'm just saying, like, for those people who do, substance abuse, like how they're trying to escape reality pretty much. Sometimes for people who play video games, that's what it does for them. It helps them escape reality. Man, I need to get away from it all, from life. Like, some people smoke weed, some people smoke cigarettes, some people go to party and, whatever they can do to escape reality. Like,
and that's the thing, like, when it comes to like self-control and the outlet you choose to control what it is you're feeling, some are healthier than others. Obviously, I don't necessarily believe like like, for example, I don't smoke, but I personally don't think that smoking is the worst outlet. A lot of people would argue with that.
Drinking.
But like drinking, but like it all depends on like how much you're doing it. Like, for example, like if you're abusing it, that's different than, okay, I had a rough day today. Let me just take a hit of whatever. Right. And like I said, I don't smoke, but I'm not going to bash anybody that smokes because like they had a rough week and they want to hit or something. You know what I mean? Like, so like I can understand that, but like that goes back to like controlling your habits as well. Like, not every habit, good or bad, is something you should abuse. You know what I mean? Like, you can abuse the gym. Like, you could be working out an unhealthy amount and, you know, hurt your body all for the sake of, well, I just got to do this. But, like, where is your self-control, like, understanding that by overdoing it with whatever it is you are doing, like, it can really have a serious effect on you or other people that care about you. So that's something else to consider. But, like, one last point I want to make about self-control, like whether it be emotional or impulsive or even like your own willpower, like personal, like self-control. One thing that I feel like is the best way to control it is just like, and we all talked about it a little bit, but just really reminding yourself of the consequences of what a lack of self-control in that aspect would do. You know, like if you lose control with like your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife, and you snap on them in a way that's like aggressive and like really like out of character, what is that going to do for your relationship? Like those are things you have to consider before you just do them, which is why I say that impulsive, that emotional, all of those things of self-control, like will have an effect on you and your relationships. So like, people need to take a step back and really analyze those things and what they do, because you never know what it could affect, whether that be you or someone else.
For sure.
I've been out like on High Street and out at the clubs, you know, and most of the times my night would end like in a shooting. I'm like, what? But what does that come from? People can't control their thoughts. People can't control their actions just because somebody said something to them.
You know what?
Right? Like, just because somebody called you out your name, somebody called you any name in the book, that don't mean you gotta pull your gun out and try to shoot them. Right. That don't mean you gotta jump them. You know?
Right.
Like, how can you let that get to you so much that your first thought is to harm them?
Insecurity.
I'm glad you said that. I got a perfect example of a night like that. Miles, you might remember this. So
why do you look at me like that when he said that? All right,
so me and Miles and someone else, we were out one night going to a friend's concert, right? And we were walking into we was about to walk in, and they were like checking IDs and everything. My wallet was in the car, so I told them I needed to go back, grab my wallet, and so we go back to the car and grab my wallet. Before we did that, though, there was these three dudes dressed in all black who were there, and they were like looking at us kind of funny and everything. We just avoided saying anything. Made eye contact, but just didn't say anything. So when we come back from the car, the guy who seems to be like the ringleader or whatever, he looked at us and said, he was like, "Y'all got a problem or something? I just saw y'all spin the block. What's up?" And I was carrying that night. I don't know. Miles could have been carrying that night.
I definitely was. That's not the point.
We could have, that whole situation could have escalated to something else real quick if we didn't have our self-control and our emotions in check. Because there was a girl right there. We could have let that get to us and be like, "Oh, man, it's a girl right here. It's girls in here." Like,
oh, man, he's not about to size us up.
Yeah, he's not about to, you know what I mean? Yeah, he's not about to, play me like that. Pull something out. You did whatever. All because he said, "Y'all got a problem or something."
Yeah, we got a problem, bro. Like we could have acted like that.
All I did was look at him in his eyes, walked right into the bed. Because we don't have time for that. That could have changed the whole course of our life for the next 5 to 10 years.
Exactly.
Over something stupid, just to make an impression on a female or to the other men that was, surrounding us, just to say, "Oh, he not gonna play me like that, or I ain't no pushover. Like, no, we're not pushovers. At the end of the day, we know who we are. Like,
right, because the way they like approached us, they were making it seem like they wanted a reaction of some sort. Like we didn't even know the dudes. We was just walking. They were acting like we was like coming to get them or something. I was just like, well, what is the point of that? So we just kept it pushing. But yeah, like imagine if we were like petty like that. Yeah, we got a problem. What's wrong with y'all? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's to you? Like, and we just did, start doing whatever.
Knowing we were in our own world. Don't never let nobody knock you off your square.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, keep it. Best thing to always do is keep it pushing.
Keep it pushing.
That's the best line of self-defense is just keep walking. I mean, of course, we know we capable of doing things. We all capable of doing things. But, like, who isn't? Like, so.
And, like, if you're a younger person, don't let it's okay to walk away from a fight for real. Because, like, I know, like, that self-control, like, in kids and, like, teenagers and stuff, it's always an ego thing because there's always someone else around.
Pride
to,
and
like,
ego.
Yeah, like, it's always someone else around. Like, oh, you gonna let him talk to you? Like, you gonna let your mama call you?
Yep.
Like, it's always something like that. So then that's kind of like
from letting me get home tonight. You got to think, like, what's the better choice?
Right. Yeah, so just taking, like, just understanding, like, not everything has to be a battle. If someone, like, insults you, even touches, like, if Tim walked up to me and did this and I didn't know him, I'd be like, hey, bro, what's your problem? Like, I wouldn't just knock him out immediately. Like, if he wanted to do something, shoot, I mean, if he swung on me first, I'm going to defend myself. I ain't going to just beat him up just because he, like, shoved me, Like, that's immature. Like, people might call me a punk for that, but, like, at the same time, like, it could escalate. Because what if I beats him up then and he pressed me with assault charges? Yeah. Then what? My life's ruined because they ain't gonna believe me. Then like, well, sir, we see all the scars on his face. Look at him. Like, like that's it. That's raps. So all because I couldn't just go the other way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know him. I don't got no personal vendetta against him. I could just keep it moving.
Say the situation was on the other hand, right?
Yeah.
And we're not gonna make this real long-winded, but this is just more examples we, just off the top of our heads thinking of. But like, say you were out by yourself as a man. You got, wife and kid at home. I'm going to use two different scenarios here. Say you got a wife and kid at home. And because you couldn't control yourself when you was out, somebody shoved you or something like that, and they kept walking. But you had to prove yourself. You had to say something, had to turn around and do something. Now, tonight when your wife turned on the news, she see her husband on the news dead or got shot because he couldn't control himself enough to make it back home. Or your wife is with you, your girl with you, your wife and kids with you. Now you putting them in harm's way because you can't control yourself.
Right.
And that's that's just opened up a lot of doors. But like, what happens then? Like, you gotta always be willing to know, like, okay, what's gonna be the cause and effect of this situation? Yeah. Like, am I gonna come out on top or what? And making it home to me is coming out on top. Yeah. I don't care what nobody says.
Right. That's always like those dumb questions. It's like, hey, like, what you gonna do if Mike Tyson walk up to your girl and smack her butt? Like, what you gonna do?
See, I'm glad you stuff like that, bro. Stuff like that.
No, because people really be clowning the dudes that say nothing. What? You just gonna let them? Like, what do you want me to do? Like, what's that gonna do?
Watch out for people who will put you in situations to see your reaction and how you will respond. Because stuff like that, right? Now, I'm not gonna make this about women. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I'm gonna use that because men can do the same thing. But for example, if your girl, if she's the type of woman who would want you to immediately respond if a dude said something, looked at y'all funny or anything like that, you don't need to be around. It's just anybody. You don't need to be around anybody like that because they ain't got your best interest at heart. They want you to prove something to somebody all the time, and it's like, that's not important. Like, he looked at me funny, or babe, he called you a B. You not gonna do nothing?
Right.
It's just a word. Nope, I'm gonna keep it pushing so we can get it up out of here and make it home. Because I don't know if he got a gun on him.
Right, exactly.
I know what I got, but I don't know what. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, it's not even worth it. Just get them people out of your life. Don't surround yourself with people like that.
Because that lack of self-control and desire to fight leaves people getting. Because like you said, like, you don't know what someone else has on them. Like, some dudes will just. Somebody will do something to you that's so small and insignificant, and you thinking you tough, you shove them down on the ground like, yeah, what you gonna do? Right. And then boom, they already got you down. Like, they already got you because you expected. Oh, all right, yeah, I got him. Yeah, you could have just ignored it, and moved on.
Right. Knowing you didn't want to do it, but because somebody was edging you. Oh, you gonna let him play you like that? You gonna let him play you like? You don't want to. I guess you right. So now
that's lame, bro.
So you didn't change the whole course of how you felt and reacted out of emotion because what somebody else was feeling, not even you.
Yeah.
Right.
And man, yeah, it's not worth it at all.
It's not.
It's not.
Yeah. But yeah. So that's what we got with self-control. Like, moral of the story in terms of everything we talking about, keep your try and strive to better your emotional intelligence and self-control like skills. Like, it's not an easy task. It's definitely not like, it definitely doesn't always seem the most rewarding at times because like nobody wants to get like played or whatever in the time. But like when you realize like and understand like, okay, I just bettered my life or like potentially didn't put myself in danger because I, you know, took the time to use my logic and self-control to like get out of a bad situation, then, you know, you're going to be all better for it. So yeah, just work on that. It's important to be in control of your emotions, especially younger men and, you know, younger women that think everything is important to like just defend yourself, like you defend your honor or whatever. Like y'all can walk away from stuff. It's fine. Not everything has to be a battle. Like not everybody has to, not everyone's going to think you were playing just because you walked away from something. So just keep that in mind.
And that's going to be it for episode 4 of the T.M.T podcast, self-control. And you said something. So I'm going to say maybe next time we'll talk about emotional intelligence. That might be the next topic.
Yeah.
But
just go deeper on that.
Yeah. That's all we got for tonight.
Yep.
So we out. I'm Terrence.
Miles.
Tim.
It's T.M.T podcast, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yep.